Brutal brunch betrayal, my daughter's shocking cutoff that changed everything forever. The air hung heavy that Sunday morning, thick with anticipation. Becky could feel it in her bones as she set the table, her heart racing like it knew something she didn't. The sky outside was a bruised purple, hinting at a storm that brewed, but it wasn't just the weather that had her on edge. There was something about the brunch today, something electric and foreboding, like a warning siren blaring in the distance. Her daughter, Lily, was due at any moment. Normally, their brunches were filled with laughter, the clinking of forks, and the smell of warm cinnamon rolls wafting through the air. But today felt different. An uneasy silence enveloped the house, where shadows danced ominously across the walls. This sense of doom prickled at the back of her neck. Moments later, the front door swung open, and in walked Lily, bringing with her a gust of cold air that sent a shiver down Becky's spine. She looked drained, the light in her eyes dulled, like a candle snuffed out before its time. "Hey, Mom," she said softly, barely lifting her gaze. It was just a word, but it landed heavily, each syllable echoing the weight of unspoken tension. Becky's heart turned in her chest. What was going on? Usually, Lily burst in with her cheeky smile and a witty quip. Today was different. It was like the atmosphere had shifted, and Becky sensed the storm brewing not just outside but within her daughter too. Beginning the meal seemed like a desperate move to mend the palpable rift forming between them. As the brunch unfolded, each bite of fluffy omelet felt bouldery, each moment dragged longer than the last. Then, without warning, Lily dropped the bomb. "I'm cutting ties with Dad." The words hung in the air, sharp and jarring, slicing right through the awkward silence. Becky's heart pounded, the wave of shock swirling around in the pit of her stomach like ice water. She felt her hands tremble, her throat tightening as if the breath had been stolen right out of her lungs. It felt wrong. Could this really be happening? Why would you do that? She gasped, searching her daughter's face for answers, for some flicker of hope that maybe there was still a way to mend this rift. Because it's the only way forward. Lily's voice was calm, but Becky could see her hands twitching, a sign of the storm raging within. "You don't understand." There was more unsaid, a deeper struggle lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. As they sat there, tension crackling like electricity in the air, Becky realized this wasn't just a brunch, it was a battlefield. The fruit salad now looked more like a bucket of regrets littered on her plate. What had changed so deeply between them? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Feeling the weight of Lily's words, Becky took a deep breath, trying to gather her scattered thoughts. The unease that permeated their meal hung heavier than the dark clouds outside. It was the calm before a greater storm, and there lay an uncharted territory between them, one that needed to be navigated, or they might lose each other forever. What else was Lily hiding? And what further shock was still to come? Becky swallowed hard, her mind racing. What do you mean, the only way forward? Her voice trembled slightly, revealing her vulnerability. Lily shifted in her seat, the tension radiating off her like heat waves. "It's complicated, Mom. I just can't. I can't pretend everything's okay anymore." Her eyes darted around the room as if searching for the right words but finding only silence. Becky forced herself to breathe, to keep calm and fatherly. "You don't have to cut him out of your life. You can talk to him, tell him how you feel." "Talk?" Lily exploded. "Talks don't fix things, Mom. It's too late for that. You don't even know half of what he's done." Each word sliced deeper than the last, and Becky could barely hold her ground. "What are you talking about? I thought things were getting better between you two." "Better for who? For you? For him?" Lily slammed her fist on the table, rattling the dishes. I can't keep pretending I'm fine with how he treated us. The storm outside intensified, rain slapping against the windows. The familiar cooking smells turned stale, and Becky felt a lump forming in her throat, choking any retort. Just tell me what happened. Please. Lily's expression shifted from anger to anguish, her face crumpled into something so heartbreakingly familiar. A mixture of guilt and sadness flickered across her features. He's been lying to you, Mom. About everything, his job, money, even his fidelity. I saw the texts. The room expanded with an unbearable tension, the air thickening until it felt suffocating. What texts? Becky whispered, her heart plummeting into a churning pit of despair. Lily hesitated, each moment stretching into an eternity. I read them when he left his phone at my place. He was seeing someone else while he was still with you. And it's not the first time. Becky shook her head, incredulous. No. It can't be. But the shadows of doubt crept in, gnawing at the edges of her mind. She had sensed something was off, an unspoken distance, a change in routine, but dismissed it, chalking it up to the pressures of life. I didn't want to believe it either, Lily continued, fresh tears welling in her eyes. But it's true, Mom. He's been playing both sides. The words tumbled into her chest like stones. Each could shatter her world as she knew it. You should have come to me sooner. We could have, and what? Pretend it didn't happen? Lily shot back, the fury in her eyes igniting again. It's not just about my relationship with him anymore, this is about how it affects you, too. If he could betray us both like that, how can we trust him? Sitting in stunned silence, Becky felt her heart fracture, pooling confusion and hurt on the tablecloth. Every fork, every plate, felt like a symbol of the facade they had built around their lives. Mom, Lily's voice softened, sensing her mother's unraveling. Please understand. Cutting him out is the only way I can heal. I can't have his deception dragging me down. Becky felt lost within the confines of her thoughts, caught in a spiral of disbelief and anger. But like thunder rumbling in the distance, another question pressed at her mind, refusing to fade. But if you cut him out, what does that mean for us? For our family? Maybe it's time to face what we really are. Maybe we weren't a real family anymore. As the thunder echoed from outside, a sharp truth pierced her heart. Could it be possible that this was only the beginning? Becky felt the world tilt beneath her, leaving her grasping for stability amid the swirling chaos. What would happen next? Would Lily find peace? And what about the man who had once been the cornerstone of their family? The questions rushed in like the rain outside, dark and oppressive. Before Becky could voice another thought, the doorbell rang, shrill and unexpected, slicing through the thick atmosphere. Who could it be? With a racing heart, she exchanged nervous glances with Lily. The unease settled back into the room, crawling under her skin. What new revelation awaited them behind that door? Becky swallowed hard again, the tendrils of dread wrapping tighter around her chest. She and Lily exchanged apprehensive glances, both clearly feeling the weight of the unknown hovering just beyond their front door. The rain beat on the glass like furious hands demanding entrance, mirroring the turmoil within. Mom, should we open it? Lily whispered, her voice barely above the sound of the storm. She looked smaller somehow, more fragile, under the harsh light of the overhead fixture. Becky wished she had an answer. The uncertainty clawed at her gut, but the doorbell rang again, its urgency cutting through the tension. She moved slowly, each step heavier than the last, as if the very air was conspiring against her. What if it's him? Lily's voice cracked, eyes wide, clutching the table like it was a lifeline. With a deep breath, Becky reached for the doorknob, her hands trembling before finally turning it. The door creaked open to reveal a figure drenched in rain, clothes sticking to his skin like a second layer. It took a moment for recognition to dawn. It was Tom, her husband, his expression a mix of confusion and urgency. Becky. Lily. I need to talk to you. Becky felt her heart drop. Now isn't a good time, Tom. She could hardly keep the judgment from creeping into her voice. Please. Just let me explain. His voice was raw, almost desperate. His damp hair clung to his forehead, and for a fleeting moment, pity flickered within her as she remembered the man she fell in love with. But it quickly extinguished, replaced with the resentment that Lily had exposed. Explain what? Lily shot back, stepping forward. More lies? More excuses? The storm roared behind Tom, emphasizing the turmoil within their home. He looked at both women, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. Just let me come in. Against all instincts, Becky stepped aside, allowing him to enter. The air shifted, charged with years of unresolved conflict, and both women followed him into the living room, a disjointed trio gripped by their own narrative. The tension thickened, wrapping around them like choking vines. Tom glanced nervously, taking in his surroundings, the reminders of family life now feeling like a graveyard of memories. I've made mistakes, but I promise you, I want to fix this. Fix what? Lily challenged. Your betrayal? Your lies? She was trembling now, every muscle coiled, ready to spring. Tom sighed heavily, each breath sounding like a reluctant admission of guilt. I wasn't just seeing someone else, there are deeper issues at play here. The words hung in the air, a bomb waiting to explode. Like what? Becky's voice emerged sharp, betraying her sense of security as she took a threatening step closer. I lost my job. I've been struggling to find a way to tell you both. His confession came in a rush, as if he were afraid of being interrupted. And I was ashamed. Instead of facing you, I made terrible choices. You think you can excuse that? Lily shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. You lied for months. You hurt us. There was silence, charged and electric. The sound of rain transformed into a deafening clamor, a fitting backdrop to the crumbling facade of their family. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could figure it all out without dragging you both into my failures. His voice dropped, remorse scraping against the edges of hope. Figure it out? Becky echoed, bitterness stinging her words. You've already dragged us in without even trying. The room felt colder, shadows dancing along the walls as the temperature dropped with the storm outside. For every confession that fell from Tom's lips, darker secrets seemed to swirl just out of reach. It's not that simple, Becky. If you only knew who I've been involved with, you'd understand why I wanted to keep you at a distance. A chill ran through Becky. Who? The single word slipped past her lips, heavy with anticipation. Tom hesitated, fear flashing in his eyes. Who? Lily demanded, inching closer to the truth. Dad, we deserve to know. The air shimmered with uncertainty, thickening with the weight of unanswered questions. Summer, he finally whispered, the name hanging like a death sentence in the air. Becky's breath caught, leaving her lightheaded. The pieces fell into place with a harsh clarity, and every fiber of her being tensed with horror. Summer? Lily repeated, disbelief coloring her tone. No, that can't be true. You didn't. But before she could finish, the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness for just a moment. When they returned, Tom stood frozen, eyes wide, the dread morphing around them into a palpable threat. What now? Becky squeezed the words out, heart racing. Behind them, the door creaked ominously, as if urging hidden revelations to come crashing in, and in that heartbeat of silence, everything spun wildly. What would the fallout be? Suddenly, another sound shattered the silence, and Becky whirled around to face the door. She felt the icy grip of fear close around her throat as she caught sight of a figure lurking just beyond the threshold. Who is that? She breathed, the world tilting once more as the shadows seemed to pulse with life. As the figure moved closer, dread coiled tighter in her chest. Would they be ready for whatever storm lay ahead? The figure stepped into the dim light of the foyer, and Becky's heart thundered in her chest. The rain pelted against the windows, a chaotic symphony accentuating the atmosphere thick with unspoken tension. It was familiar but unexpected, the outline of a woman, her hair drenched, features obscured by the shadows. Summer Tom's voice was a whisper soaked in incredulity. His eyes darted between his wife and the figure that seemed to materialize from the storm. The room held its breath, each second stretching like an eternity, as Becky's breath hitched. "What are you doing here?" she managed to ask, though her voice trembled with confusion and rising anger. Summer's gaze, penetrating and unapologetic, swept over Tom before landing on Becky. "I came to tell the truth," she said, her voice steady despite the stretch of tension clinging to the air. "Truth?" Lily barked, disbelief lacing her words. What truth could possibly make this situation better? Summer stepped further into the room, shaking off her coat, revealing a sharp, icy demeanor that seemed to slice through the heavy atmosphere. "Your father don't." Tom interrupted, his voice rising. "This isn't what you think." "It is exactly what we think." Becky shot back, her composure slipping as her emotions spiraled out of control. "You thought you could keep us in the dark? Both of you?" Summer's expression cooled. "We didn't plan for this to happen." "It was never meant to hurt," Lily mimicked mockingly, her face twisted in anger. "That's what you're going to say?" Becky felt as though the ground beneath her was crumbling. How could they stand there, both of them, exchanging guilty glances as if their secret had just been a petty mistake? A part of her wished it were all a nightmare from which she could awaken, but the weight of reality felt indisputable. Ignoring the simmering tension, Tom stepped forward, voice low. "If you would just let her explain, I don't want to hear anything from either of you." Becky snapped, feeling betrayal like a hot knife sinking into her skin. "How could you let this happen?" Summer's eyes, wide and pleading, settled on Becky. "Becky, I didn't mean for you to find out this way. I tried to protect you both." "By sleeping with my husband?" The bitterness curled around Becky's words like smoke. "You think that was protecting us?" From the corner of her eye, she saw Lily's expression dissolve into despair, realizing the double betrayal woven into their lives. It was as if the storm outside reflected the tempest building within. Tom's hands moved searchingly, as if trying to catch pieces of a splintering reality. "Becky, please. I made choices that I can't undo, but it doesn't have to end like this. I want to talk. About what? More lies?" Becky felt rage coursing through her veins, matching the fury of the storm. "Becky, we still have a family. We can fix this." His voice wavered, and Becky saw him for the first time not as a partner but a man lost in his own shame. But the thought of a fix was a cruel mirage in a desert of hurt. "You broke that family the moment you chose her," she spat, unable to hold back the fire igniting within her. Summer's voice trembled as she added, "You don't know the whole story. There's something else, something bigger." A silence fell over the room, heavy and expectant, as if they all held their breath in anticipation. What could possibly be bigger than this? Lily challenged, stepping closer to her mother as if to protect her from the forthcoming storm. "I think it's time you both knew the truth about what really happened," Summer said, her tone chilling as she revealed the weight of a secret that reverberated through their lives. "You think the affair is the end, but there's more." Her voice trailed off, and every eye in the room narrowed, as if the shadows crowded closer to hear her confession. "What?" Becky shouted, urgency bubbling with the storm outside. "Finish it." The air thrummed with tension, ready for secrets to be spilled, stretching like a taut rubber band on the edge of snapping. Why was Summer hesitating when they needed answers the most? But before Summer could speak, the lights flickered again. A flash of thunder boomed, and a crash in the kitchen made them all jump. "What was that?" Lily gasped, eyes wide as dread flooded the room anew. "The storm has knocked something over," Tom guessed, but a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. "No," Becky said, steeling herself as she turned towards the sound. "It's not just the storm, something else is lurking in the shadows." As Becky took a step away from the confrontation, a sense of foreboding washed over her. An understanding began to dawn within her as the clamoring thoughts spiraled. Truths would later reveal themselves, but perhaps the worst was yet to come, and just as she felt the resolve harden within her, the unmistakable sound of a door creaking open echoed through the house. "God, please no," she whispered, turning toward the source, dread freezing her. What was waiting for them in the kitchen? Would the storm's real fury reveal itself just beyond this moment? Becky felt her heart stop as the door creaked more loudly, the sound echoing into the tension-filled room. Something cold slithered down her spine. "Who's there?" she demanded, voice shaking but brave. The storm outside raged, wind howling like a specter, but terror gripped her tighter than the storm ever could. The silence that followed stretched painfully, making her aware of every heavy breath shared among the three of them. Summer's smirk had vanished, replaced by worry playing on her features. Tom stood frozen, his expression shifting from disbelief to dread, his own pulse quickening. Becky Summer breathed, a fresh wave of panic slicing through the air. "Shut up," Becky responded sharply. She took another step toward the kitchen, an inexplicable force pulling her closer to whatever lurked in the shadows. Light flickered above her, illuminating the dark corridor but doing little to ease her growing fear. "Wait!" Don't. Tom reached for her, but she brushed past him, her feet moving as if drawn by a magnet. The kitchen door stood ajar, the soft glow from the hallway casting eerie shadows that danced along the tiled floor. With each agonizing second, the wood seemed to groan, heavy with the weight of revelation. Stephanie's repeated calls echoed in her head, a broken family, unspoken truths, and now this sense of menace saturating the air. Becky pushed the door open wider, revealing a blur of movement. Her eyes widened. A figure, small and hunched, scuttled across the floor. She gasped, instinctively stepping back from its quick approach. But the figure stopped. It was hardly more than a child, soaked to the bone, trembling like a leaf in the wind. "Lily!" Tom shouted, rushing past Becky, his paternal instinct igniting. Becky remained frozen. The young girl began to cry, a muffled sound that broke her heart. "Where's Mom?" "Mom is right here," he said, voice calming but with urgency, as he knelt beside Lily. "What happened?" Becky's voice cracked, ushering in an entirely new fear different from the one that had held her captive moments ago. Defensive walls were crumbling anew. This was all too surreal, a tangled web of emotions tightening around them. "I don't know. She was so mad at you, and I ran out. I thought I could sneak away," and then Lily's voice trembled with panic, the tears streaking down her cheeks contrasting with the damp of the storm. "I was trying to find Uncle Mike. Now I can't." A sense of disbelief swept through Becky. Uncle Mike? Why was Lily looking for him? The air sank heavier than before, a catastrophic truth lingering just beneath the surface. What was going on? A dizzying swirl of questions clenched her gut, but before she could articulate anything, she felt that the charged tension lingering over them hadn't vanished with Lily's arrival. Summer's features slowly morphed into a mask of horror, and her voice broke through the chaos. "We've put her in danger. I should have known he would. Summer, what do you know?" Tom shot at her, standing protectively in front of Lily, as if a wall could shield them all from the encroaching shadows. Becky turned to him, disbelief and fury igniting again. "Is this a family affair I didn't know about? Why would you let her wander off alone?" Panic spiraled within her like a cyclone, thoughts colliding, drowning in a sea of confusion and dread. She felt stuck between a family unraveling and a storm raging outside, both leaving no room for safety. But just as the tempest grew louder, another boom of thunder rattled the windows, and an icy wind cut through the room. The kitchen door began to swing shut, creaking ominously. "Don't let it close!" Becky screamed, lunging forward, heart racing. With a surge of adrenaline, she grabbed the doorknob and pushed it back just as it threatened to close, revealing more of the darkness beyond. What was out there? Somewhere in the chaos, another answer was waiting, an unimaginable truth even darker than what they had faced so far. As thunder clapped like spectators to their fate, Becky turned back, resolute, knowing something far more terrifying than heartbreak was lurking. Would the storm within restore or obliterate them? Becky's heart raced as she wrestled with the doorknob, her breath hitching in her throat. The wind outside seemed to howl louder, matching the tempest of emotions boiling within her. What was lurking behind that door? Was it an answer to the questions that plagued her, or a deeper darkness that none of them could foresee? Let us just think for a second. Tom stumbled over his words, his eyes darting from Lily to Becky and then back to the door. We need to figure this out. If Uncle Mike is involved, then we're really in trouble. Trouble? Summer hissed, her voice sharp with urgency. You think we're in trouble? Lily should never have been here alone. What if he finds her first? Fear seeped into her tone, igniting a primal instinct in Becky. The child clung to Tom, her small frame trembling. I want my mom, Lily whimpered, her fragile voice shaking the air like fragile glass. Where is she? What do you know, Lily? We need to know. Becky's urgency spilled out, fueled by fear and frustration. Each word fell on the girl's shoulders like a weight, and Becky instantly regretted the pressure. Lily looked up, her eyes wide and hollow. I heard her talking about Uncle Mike. She said he was coming for her and me. I didn't listen, she admitted, her breath starting to hitch again. The sense of urgency thickened in the air. Why didn't you tell someone? Summer gasped, now genuinely terrified, stepping towards the girl, reaching out to comfort her. Because I was scared. Lily's voice was a whisper. I thought she was just mad. I thought she faltered, her little hands gripping Tom's shirt tighter. Scared of what? Becky pressed, the weight of every word amplifying an unshakable dread creeping over her. To go near the woods, Lily finally said, her small face scrunching up at the memory. But it was the only way to find him. A chill ran down Becky's spine like icy fingers scraping against her flesh. The woods dark, tangled, and mysterious. The very woods she had grown up near, the ones whispered about by neighbors, the ones that held secrets too deep to fathom. The thunder rolled again, rattling the windows, sending shockwaves through the electric tension in the room. A flash of lightning illuminated the hallway, casting haunting shadows that flickered just past the edge of Becky's vision. Her mind raced. She needed to keep Lily safe, but was it until they figured out what Uncle Mike truly meant, or were they already too late? Summer, you know something, Tom accused earnestly, his voice a combination of frustration and fear. I didn't think he would come back. I didn't think any of this would happen. She shouted, her plea desperate. There were warnings, but I thought they were just stories. Stories about what? Becky demanded, her voice a pitch higher than she intended. About him, Summer rushed to explain, her words colliding with each other. Uncle Mike has a way of getting involved in things he shouldn't. He promised me he was done. But when I saw the look in his eyes, her voice broke and silence filled the room, ripe with terror. Outside, the storm raged more fervently. Flickers of lightning illuminated the kitchen, and for a moment, it felt as though the world outside had collapsed. Becky's hands trembled around the doorknob, a terrible realization dawning on her. Is he? She started but couldn't finish the thought. Lily's fearful eyes seemed to answer for her. The kitchen door quivered as the wind began to force its way back through the cracks. A sound echoed from the darkness, a low growl that sent chills crawling along Becky's skin. What was that? Tom's voice cut through the silence, and everyone froze. The tension snapped like a frayed wire. Maybe we should just close it, keep the storm out, Lily suggested, her innocence stranded by fear. Becky's mind raced. Closing the door felt wrong, yet leaving it ajar was a gamble. The outside world was now a nightmarish notion, while darkness edged closer into the kitchen. Whatever's out there, we have to face it. Together, Becky said, her heart hammering against her ribcage. What if we head out and look for your mom? Everyone fell still at her suggestion. Would they dare step into the storm, seeking answers while the shadows of uncertainty loomed large? It was either step into the unknown or be swallowed by it. Another crash of thunder echoed. The room felt more alive than ever with strange horrors waiting just beyond the door. What awaited them in the storm? Would they find the light, or were they charging headfirst into nightmare incarnate? The air was thick with tension, as if the storm itself were listening, waiting. Becky exchanged anxious glances with Tom and Summer. She could feel her heart pounding like a war drum, each beat echoing the unspoken fear that reverberated through the room. What if we get caught out there? Tom finally broke the silence, his voice trembling slightly. We could end up lost or worse. Becky looked at him, desperation clawing at her throat. But we can't just stay here. We have to try to find Lily's mom. The urgency pressed down on her, suffocating yet motivating. We don't know what we're up against, Summer interjected, though her voice lacked conviction. Her eyes flickered nervously toward the ominous crack in the door. Mike could be close, we could be walking right into a trap. Lily whimpered, breaking the charged atmosphere. I don't want to go. The child's small body quaked against Tom's side. He instinctively squeezed her shoulder, attempting to calm her trembling with a reassuring touch. Becky's thoughts raced. If they stayed, would Uncle Mike find them? The door loomed behind her, thick wood and splintered edges framing the dark unknown. If they didn't move, they might be swept away by the storm of secrets, anger, and chaos that Uncle Mike stirred in the shadows. Tell me about your mom, Lily, Becky said, her voice low and steady. What do you know? Where could she be? Lily fidgeted, her fingers gnawing at the hem of Tom's shirt. I don't know. She just said, if anything happens, find me by the old oak tree. But it was scary in the woods. Her eyes glimmered with unshed tears. The oak tree, Becky whispered, feeling it prickle on her spine. That tree stood at the edge of the woods, a known landmark that everyone dared not approach. The stories surrounding that old tree were as dark as the woods themselves, filled with talk of sorrow and loss. We have to move. Now. Becky decided, resolve hardening her voice. Summer, you come with me. Tom, you stay close to Lily. Each word felt like a hammer striking iron. What if we don't make it? Tom's voice was barely a whisper, but it held an overwhelming weight. Becky turned, her determination piercing through the gusty howls outside. We'll make it. We have to find Lily's mom, and together, we can do this. Her heart fought against the fear, replacing it with fierce bravery. As another bolt of lightning split the sky, they gathered near the door, their bodies tense, breaths shallow. The storm outside screamed louder, urging them to make a choice. On three, Becky commanded, glancing back at Tom and Lily. They nodded, eyes wide with fear and resolve. 1, 2. The door rattled violently as a gust surged against it like a beast trying to break through. The lights flickered, casting ghostly shadows dancing across the walls. 3. Becky shouted, propelling the door open against the wind's force. The fury of the storm engulfed them, rain dancing like needles upon their skin. The air was moist and electric, swirling with raw energy. Thunder cracked overhead, drowning out their hearts' frantic beats. Stay close. Becky yelled, fighting to be heard as she led the way. They stepped outside, and the world distorted around them. Rain poured down in sheets, turning the ground into a muddy battle between solid earth and chaos. Visibility was scarce, shadows playing tricks on their eyes that eye in the distance. A flicker caught Becky's attention, a dim light cutting through the dark. It beckoned them like a lighthouse in the stormy sea. A surge of hope mixed with a cold spike of unease rippled through her. Over there. She pointed, squinting against the downpour. We should head to that light. No. Lily's voice shattered through the cacophony. Mom told me not to go near it. It's not safe. Becky hesitated, caught between a child's warning and the mysterious glow promising potential safety. The shadows moved shakily in the corners of her vision, threatening to consume them whole. Could they trust the light? Or was it a lure, tempting them deeper into danger, making a choice felt impossible but necessary? The woods loomed ahead. A dark tide rolling with secrets waiting to be uncovered. What choices would they make when faced with the unknown? And would they emerge unscathed from the storm's fury? Becky swallowed hard, the weight of Lily's warning hanging like a dark cloud over her head. Behind her, Tom held Lily tightly, and his eyes held a mix of fear and confusion. The glowing light swayed gently, flickering in and out of focus, almost as if it were sentient, aware of their presence and eager to lure them in. Maybe we should go back, Summer suggested, her voice shaky against the storm's roar. We could find another way. Becky felt frustration flare up. We can't. Lily's mom is out there somewhere. If that light leads anywhere, we have to check it out. With one last glance towards the thick woods, she pushed forward, plunging into the downpour. It was like stepping into a different world, chaotic, threatening, and alive with malice. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. Stay together, she shouted, each word getting swallowed by the storm. Tom and Lily stumbled after her, their faces drawn taut in fear. As they crept towards the light, each step felt more dangerous than the last. The shadows around them thickened, and the trees loomed overhead, their massive branches resembling dark, gnarled hands reaching down to snatch them away. What if it's a trap? Tom murmured, doubt gnawing at him. He was right, every instinct screamed it. But Becky's heart pumped with a mixture of dread and stubborn hope. They had no other options. Then came the unmistakable sound of rustling leaves, a whisper against the storm's chaos. Becky halted, scanning the shadows. The noise wasn't just the wind. Something, or someone, was moving in the darkness. Did you hear that? She whispered, eyes wide, urging them to be silent. Lily pressed herself against Tom, her small body trembling. I don't like this, just stay close, Tom reassured her. We'll be fine. But even he could hear the tremor in his voice. The flickering light beckoned again, swaying almost invitingly, yet an icy chill ran down Becky's spine. We can't turn back now, she insisted, but uncertainty festered beneath her bravado. Suddenly, the light brightened, shining like a beacon, illuminating the area around a massive oak tree, its skeletal branches gnarled like tortured limbs. It beckoned to them with a certain familiarity, and Becky felt her pulse quicken. The old oak looked like the one from Lily's description, a haunted relic of untold stories. What do we do? Summer asked, biting her lip. Lily, where did your mom say to go? Becky pressed. By the oak tree, Lily mumbled, her voice a fragile thread amid the roaring winds. Becky turned from the light to the tree, suddenly feeling the weight of their situation. We should check it out. As they approached, a sudden gust of wind threw a branch against the ground with a sickening crack, startling them. They paused, eyes darting around. The oppressive air wrapped around them, thick with the promise of something horrifying. Then they heard a voice, soft yet chilling, drifting through the wind. Help me, did you hear that? Tom blurted, eyes wide with terror. Becky glanced at Lily, who clung to Tom, frozen in fear. We need to keep going, she whispered, her resolve faltering, but before she could step further, the ground under her feet trembled, a low rumble building like an erupting volcano. What is happening? Summer cried, clutching her head. Uncertainty dripped heavy around them like the rain pouring down, pressing harder against their minds than the storm. They needed to determine their next move quickly, before the very earth swallowed them whole. As the voice echoed again, louder this time, the shadows writhed restlessly at the edge of their vision. Who's there? Becky shouted, fear and determination mixed together in her voice. And then, from the depths of the trees, a figure began to emerge, silhouetted against the swirling darkness. What had they stumbled into? And what would happen when the figure finally stepped into the light? The figure moved with a grace that belied the terror of the moment. As it drew closer, the dim light caught the edges of its form, revealing a woman with tangled hair cascading down her back. Becky's heart raced. Could it be Lily's mom? Mom? Lily's voice was barely a whisper, a fragile ember of hope in the tempest. Stay back. The woman shouted, her voice raw, vibrating with urgency. You shouldn't be here. It's dangerous. Becky took a step forward, desperation clawing at her throat. We came to find you. We heard your voice. But the woman lifted her hand, and an energy crackled in the air, thickening the atmosphere like static before a storm. It pulled at Becky's insides, filling her with dread. You need to leave. You're in danger. This place is not what you think. Summer squeezed Tom's arm, her eyes darting between the woman and the shadows creeping at the edges of their vision. Maybe we should listen. No. Becky snapped, fueled by a mix of fear and defiance. We're not leaving you here. The woman's expression shifted, fear flashing across her features. If you stay, you may awaken something more terrible than you can imagine. The forest is alive. She looked past them, into the depths of the woods, eyes wide with dread. And it hungers. Tom tightened his grip on Lily. What do we do? Ignoring the warning, Becky pushed forward until she stood before the woman. Please, we need to help you. What are we up against? The wind howled, and the ground beneath them shook again, more violently this time. The woman's gaze locked with Becky's, and a flicker of recognition sparked between them. You'll never understand, she said, anguish twisting her face. I made choices to keep you safe, but now. Her voice faltered, and for a moment, fear stripped her of all composure. It has come for me. What has? Becky pressed, feeling the tides of uncertainty rising around them. The flickering light pulsed as if responding to the woman's distress, illuminating the surroundings in flashes. In those moments, strange shapes danced along the edges of the clearing. Shadows morphed, coiling around trees and rocks like twisted hands reaching out. Run! The woman cried out, her voice breaking. Before it's too late. The earth rumbled, and from the ground, a grotesque shape erupted, a creature formed of shadows and despair, its eyes glowing like coals in the dark, fixating on them with unyielding hunger. Get back! Becky shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. She felt a surge of protective instinct kick in. Tom, Lily, and Summer stumbled back, but something warmer and more powerful flowed through Becky. Staring into the creature's eyes, she realized this was not just an anomaly of the storm or the forest. It was born from something deeper, something that felt intimately familiar. Suddenly, the glowing light around them brightened, pushing back against the darkness like a wall of fire, flickering with intense purpose. Becky! Tom shouted, panic bubbling in his voice. What do we do? Becky's mind raced. We can't run. We need to fight. But even as she spoke, fear ripped through her. What could they possibly do against something like that? The creature writhed, inching closer, and the air thickened with dread. The woman stepped back, hesitation mingling with fear as she looked at them with a mix of pride and despair. Then, without warning, she lunged toward the creature, forcing it to recoil with a furious roar that shook the ground. Go! She screamed, throwing herself into the fray, the shadows swirling around her like a dark cloak. Mom! Lily cried, but Becky gripped her arm tighter. The darkness around the old oak surged, and the decision at that moment felt monumental. This was not just a fight for survival, they were caught in a battle for something far larger, a struggle that seemed to reverberate through time itself. Together! Becky cried out, drawing strength from the others as the shadowy creature lunged once more, but just as they prepared to fight back, a chilling realization struck Becky. Was the woman really here to protect them, or had she awakened something deeper that would trap them all forever? What lay ahead was murky, the true horror still waiting to be unveiled. As chaos unfolded around them, Becky felt an electric surge of fear and determination. The shadows twisted ominously, the creature's growls reverberating through the heavy air. The woman, their last hope, was now face to face with the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Mom! Lily's voice trembled, and Becky turned to the girl, her heart aching. With tears in her eyes, Lily seemed caught between fear and longing, desperate for a mother she just found and terrified at what might happen next. Stay close, sweetie. Becky urged, pulling Lily protectively to her side, muscles tense and ready for whatever storm awaited. Becky, what's happening? Tom's voice cracked, fear making him tremble. Whatever that creature is, it wants to break us. We need to find a way to stop it. Becky shouted, her resolve igniting. The warmth of the light fought valiantly against the darkness swirling around them. It flickered, and she felt its power pushing back against the shadows. The woman Lily's mom was locked in battle, freeing herself from the creature's grasp, but the darkness threatened to overwhelm her. Don't give in. Becky cried out. You're stronger than it. The woman's eyes met Becky's, and for a moment, time stood still. Together. You have the power, trust it. She shouted, as shadows clawed at her, tendrils reaching for her heart. Becky felt it then, a warmth building within her, spreading through her veins like fire. It surged into her every thought, every inch of her body, encouraging her to fight alongside the woman. With each heartbeat, she could sense their collective power binding them together, a powerful thread woven from fear, love, and determination. "Lily, hold my hand," Becky shouted, and the girl obeyed, her tiny fingers trembling, clasped tight in her mother's grip. "Tom, stand with us," she added, feeling the unity they needed to confront the darkness. He stepped closer, breathing heavily as he steadied himself. "I'm here, Becky. We can do this," he assured, though the doubt was heavy in his eyes. The creature lunged, a horrifying blend of nightmare and malice, its coal-like eyes burning with twisted hunger. But in that moment, Becky felt a shift like a charged current passing through the air, echoing the words of the woman. Becky reached deep inside and shouted, "We are not broken. We will not be divided." Suddenly, the light pulsed, igniting in glorious brightness, pouring energy into them. The darkness hesitated, recoiling as shimmering tendrils encircled them, wrapping them in a warm cocoon of hope. Lily squeezed her mother's hand tighter. "What do we do, Mom?" "Just believe," Becky yelled, eyes fixed on the creature. "With love and truth, we can overcome anything." In that heartbeat, Tom raised his free hand, leaning into the energy coursing through them. "Let us push it back," he shouted, voices raised in unison. The light erupted like a supernova, flooding the clearing. Shadows writhed and recoiled, and the creature shrieked a chilling sound that cut through the storm before finally shattering. The old oak shivered, its unmistakable strength remaining, as glimmers of light wiped the shadows clean as they chased the darkness away. Then silence enveloped them. Becky stood breathless, heart hammering in her chest. All eyes turned as the vibrant light began fading, revealing the woman, now standing tall amidst the dissolving shadows. "You did it." Her voice trembled with relief. "You faced what I was too afraid to confront," she said, tears pooling in her eyes, a haunting mix of sorrow and warmth. "What happens now?" Lily asked, clinging to Becky's leg. "Now," the woman said softly, shame mingling with love, "we heal. Together." "I thought you were gone." Lily's voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm here now. I'm so sorry for everything," she said, stepping forward and enveloping Lily in her arms. A fragile moment passed, their breaths mingled in the fading storm, and the world felt lighter. The ache of betrayal began to dissolve into a tentative hope, a second chance to redefine their family. Becky stepped forward, heart swelling with a mixture of love and fear. "It will take time, but we can fix this," she murmured. The woman nodded, determination flickering back into her eyes. "Facing the dark together is the only way we will truly heal." With the storm rolling away to reveal a clearer sky, the four of them stood together in the remnants of their old fears, embracing the promise of new beginnings. Becky wrapped her arm around Lily, taking a deep, cleansing breath. They were still a family. They might be slightly scarred, and they might face more storms ahead, but they would weather them together. And as she looked at Tom and the woman, she felt a profound sense of strength bonding them. It wasn't about overlooking the past but transforming it into something stronger. The battle may have been fierce, but their bond could only grow from here. "Let us talk," she said, and their heads nodded in unity. Together, they would face the tumult of life, more resilient than ever, and that day, standing under the clear rising sun, they pledged to build a future one rooted in understanding, healing, and love. Don't let your journey end here. This is the moment to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood that comment section with your thoughts and theories on how you think they will cope going forward. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Your support means everything.